Good evening. Welcome to the September 6th meeting of the Glens City Planning Board. We have 3 items on tonight's agenda. Our first item is the review and approval of the minutes from the August 2nd Planning Board meeting. Before I get started, I would like to introduce a new member. Keith Lamphere is joining us. Keith's a resident here in the city. He's also works for the village of Lake George, but he was formerly on the village zoning board for the village, but has since moved to the city of Glens Falls and has agreed to fill our vacant spot. So, welcome. Thank you. Peter, do you have any comments for the August 2nd minutes? No. Yeah.
Actually, I request to get on the list.
Oh.
I haven't gotten them in a month or two.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bridget? Art?
Yeah, which one we on?
This was August 2nd, just a review of.
Oh, no, I didn't get it.
I would make a motion to accept the meeting minutes from the 2nd of August, 2022. Second. All in favor? Opposed? All right. Done with that. All right. Our first item on our agenda this evening is sign review 220008. Cyrillic, forgive me on this last name, Siraj? Okay, it's for Dix Avenue Group LLC, owner of 23 Dix Avenue, seeking approval to install a freestanding sign at this location pursuant to the city code chapter 180-5A. This application requires signboard review and approval. If you'd like to come up and talk about your application. I know this was on last month's agenda as well, but we didn't have any representation here, so we kind of let it slide. We'll go from there.
Good afternoon. My name is Matthew Abrams, the owner of 23 Dix Ave, and next to me is 80 with Sweet Rice, who's applying for a sign. We have an existing pylon sign out there, so they're applying for a new or an updated pylon sign lamination, basically.
It's
yeah,
just the sign face.
Just the sign face.
It's changing. This was the one that was Sam's Diner previously. It's the same sign board that's there, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
So just an upgrade to the tenant space.
Okay.
So.
All right. Anything else that you need to add to your application before we start our review?
No. Do you guys have the documentation that just shows the new rendering?
I believe so. Yes,
Okay.
it was in our packet last month, and we just carried it over.
Okay.
Yes, that's right.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak on this application? Seeing none, I'll start. There's nobody in the audience. I'll start with Mr. Brown, our architectural consultant.
I was absent for last month's meeting, but previously it suggested getting a site plan and details about the sign. But if he's reusing an existing device, I have no problem with it.
Okay. Very good. Ms. Belton? Nothing with you. Bridget?
No questions?
Any questions?
No questions.
I had no questions either. I mean, I think it's a great reuse of the sign, and it's, it is what it is. And obviously Sam's sign was there forever, so it's nice. It'll be nice to see the bulbs coming back up again.
That's it.
And not have any other issues with it. That being said, would somebody like to put together a motion?
Acting as the board of sign review.
Yes. Would you like me to read this one? I'll put it together. I'd make a motion that the Glens Falls Planning Board, acting as the Board of Sign Review, hereby grants sign approval for the project identified as Yes, okay. Contract vending of Dix Avenue Group LLC, owner of 23 Dix Avenue, for their sign board as presented at the meeting of 6 September 2022. Second. Second. All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you
You're all
very
set.
much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
When do
very
you think you'll open?
Hopefully, end of this month.
Oh, nice.
We're on
Good.
track.
Looking forward to it. Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Matt, thank you. Our next item on our agenda is site plan review 220013, Spring City Development Group LLC, owners of 31, 41, and 45 South Street, and 31 and 36 Elm Street. Seeking approval to renovate the existing structures, turn them into mixed-use building, and construct a new structure for commercial and residential use. This application requires planning board review and approval.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Libby Carino. I know that we're having some trouble setting everything up, so with the board's option, allow us to reverse the agenda so that we can work on this and move on to the other item will come last.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Happy to do that. The next item on the agenda is sketch plan review. Matt Hummel, owner of tax map number 303.18-19-7, commonly known as 199 to 201 Warren Street, is seeking sketch plan review to construct a one-story addition to an existing building for use as a commercial restaurant space at this location pursuant to City Code Chapter 220. Section 220-C, subsection 8. This proposed action will require an application to planning board review and approval. In addition, the proposed action as submitted will require an application to the Zoning Board of Appeals for the granting of area variances for both front yard and side yard area variances. Good afternoon.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you for coming before us for sketch plan review. We appreciate that.
Appreciate meeting with you guys.
Absolutely. I know that there was some additional information provided to us today that we just got at the beginning of the meeting, which I assume, Matt, is this updated?
Yes,
stuff?
for the,
Okay.
it shows the parking for the restaurant in front and then the side yard setback.
Okay,
That was not on the other part.
okay. Do you want to run through your project a
Oh,
little
sure,
bit? And
sure.
kind of give us a heads up as to what's going on?
Absolutely. Yeah, so I'm looking to add on square footage to the 199 Warren Street, which is currently operating under Tacos El Sombrero. I'm looking to add a seating area, indoor dining, looking to add a handicapped restroom, handicapped parking, and a dishwasher area for, so we can use, reuse of dishes and all the paper waste and disposal.
Gotcha.
Just basically looking to double the square footage of the
So-
building.
Basically, it's that whole front section that's there and adding onto that one piece.
Onto the left, yeah.
Yeah.
And a small addition on the back just to enclose the stairwell.
Right.
And then actually it's gonna tie the two buildings together because of the space. There's not that much room to do that, but it'd be better use of the space for the restaurant because it could utilize downstairs without going through the, outside and all that.
Gotcha. And those were the other stairs that were part of your original proposal on the back portion. You're kind of redoing that? Or?
No, those stairs on the original addition for my shop,
Yep.
those are gonna remain inside.
Okay.
These stairs are existing now on the restaurant currently.
Gotcha.
But I'm just looking to enclose that whole area from the back door, and then so that employees can go back downstairs without going outside.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Members of the board, I will start with Mr. Lincoln.
How much seating are you gonna have inside? Because I'm looking at, it kind of looks a little light as far as parking goes.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something that you guys may, just looking at it briefly here.
Yeah.
And being a little bit new to the whole topic. So I was just curious what your thoughts are on seating,
Right.
your indoor capacity, because that would pretty, if you're pumping that has an effect on it.
It does,
Yeah.
I know, yep. So we're gonna add about 4 tables, and then, so the required parking, we're around 5. is What we're looking, so there'd be 4 spaces for the square footage, and then plus 1 for the employee parking.
Okay.
So the site plan that you guys just received today shows 4 spaces, just for the
Right,
restaurant
that's what
alone.
I'm seeing here.
But there is other, parking on site, and, because my shop, which I haven't constructed yet, but I get approved site plan approval last year, before I purchased the property, it showed parking as well, but I'm also gonna have indoor parking garage spaces I don't want to utilize for my business, so there may be one we can pick up, and there's, the restaurant's hours are limited, really, they're only like from 11 to 5 or 11 to 6
Okay.
currently, and there's one apartment upstairs, and so there will be kind of like an overlap of like overnight parking versus daily use parking, and, but I did, try to show as best as I could on the site plan of proposed parking.
All right.
And I know,
Just the two go together.
Right.
So I was curious of what your plan was.
I do plan on going in front of, I am scheduled to go in front of the zoning board regarding the parking, and then regarding the front and rear.
So-
Sorry, front and side.
Yeah,
Sorry.
front and side area variances
Yes,
are with the zoning board.
The zoning board.
Planning board handles the parking.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
We can do waivers for parking if it's so deemed.
I see.
Do that.
Okay.
That's not the zoning board's thing. I read through this, rather quickly, and I see where you're coming from. The other thing is you've got spaces that are available along Warren Street as well. There's parking all up and down Warren
Right.
Street there, so.
Right.
You've got some that are off, you've got your major amount of them on site, and then there's a few that would be off.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
All set? Art?
Thank you.
Sure.
No,
Thank
it's
you.
a fast actor in there, and a nice addition to it, with the parking thing,
Yeah,
looks good.
good, thank you.
Really?
No questions or comments?
Rachel?
No, I think it looks nice.
Dan, I should have started with you, I'm sorry.
Okay. Now, for sketch plan review, I think this is fine, even though we got the information today. And then the applicant can use the site plan review checklist to add other things like grading and lighting and so forth.
Yeah, the things that we would need on it. And Matt went through this before
Yeah.
with the back parts.
Right. Yeah, I'm gonna detail out everything, I just want to do the initial sketch plan, and then zoning, and then come back,
Yeah.
meet again and discuss the lighting and all the other specifics.
Good.
Sure.
Good. Peter?
Yeah, but we have a sketch plan that shows the vinyl siding. There's
The one that was a hand-drawn sketch?
no, this is,
This one?
yeah, this one. That's, yeah. It shows architecture, I believe, that doesn't have the sides, but the sides, or the front is, on the drawings. Well, that's that was the last time. Yeah. So, I don't know if you can do that too. I don't know.
As far as the lighting goes?
Yeah.
Yeah, you do show some lighting on that front elevation that was provided to
Right.
us, and then the rest of it, I suppose, will come with your site plan.
Yes.
Assuming that there's no other exterior lighting on the building, other than perhaps at the back door.
I mean, no, there's windows on the side, and then I believe we're gonna just add back rear lighting for the employees.
Yeah.
So, and there's gonna be lighting on the building to the rear as well, which will certainly illuminate the whole area. There's not a whole lot of obstructions from the front to the
Right,
to the rear at this point.
right, yeah, it's all pretty wide open.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else, Peter? All set? Yeah, those are pretty much my comments as well, Matt. I think that the information that we were provided earlier today, or, at the beginning of it, clarifies a couple of the questions that I had as far as that goes. And I think with a little bit of extra, development of that site plan, I think you'll be fine. The things that we went through with your previous application, I think still apply here.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
once we've got all those items and got the actual full site plan application in front of us, we'll be able to do that. But ultimately, I think we've given you some pretty decent feedback.
Yes, absolutely.
I think it's gonna be, certainly well needed. I mean, they're obviously doing good business down there, so.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I think the neighborhood as well. I mean, everybody, there's a lot of people that certainly go in and, eat there, but they either wait in their car or, it's just gonna be great for year round.
Yeah. And it's good to see something that's lasted in that spot for more than, say, a year.
Yeah, absolutely.
The turnover in that one spot was incredible, and then this one's been in there for quite some time. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot up on the street parking too, because nobody parks across from stores.
Yeah.
You can park all the way to cross our street to the Brooklyn stuff.
Yeah, and of course, right there in front of the old native textile, that's all parking through there too. So.
Sure.
Good.
Excellent.
All right.
All right, thank you,
Good.
everybody.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate it. At this point, Matt, do you need anything more from us? I mean,
I don't think so. I guess the parking, I mean, the fact that you guys do approve the parking and everything, just,
Yes, the
Would
parking
everybody-
waiver, I spoke with Kathleen
Okay.
earlier, and it does come through, the parking waiver does come through the planning board.
Okay.
Obviously, your area variances come through the zoning board of
Correct.
appeals, and they'll have to act on that first.
okay,
Obviously, if you're granted your area variances, then you're back to us for site plan review.
Okay.
And we can get that, finished up, the parking waiver, we can do that here.
Okay. At this point, I mean, you feel like the parking.
At this point, you're shy of one, and honestly, one's not a huge number for us to really do, because as Peter said, there is on-street parking.
Well, if you look at the part from the patrons,
Yeah,
it's 175 feet,
right.
even though 181 or 4, 5.
Right, yeah, he was doing it by seating, by tables,
Yeah.
so, but, yeah, no,
Okay,
so, I think you're pretty decent.
Jumpers are either.
Yeah, yeah. So, I think you're pretty.
Space per employee, how many employees is that?
there's really only one usually that runs the place, so. Yeah.
Runs the place himself,
Right, pretty much.
so.
All right, excellent, thank you.
Good,
Appreciate
thanks,
it.
Matt,
Okay.
appreciate it. Yes. Sketch plan. Yeah, there was a few comments from, Matt, there was a few comments from the city engineer. I don't know if you saw those or not. If you stop at the office, I can give you a copy of the,
Okay.
of the city engineer.
I'll stop over.
They were all pretty straightforward.
Okay, I did read through a couple of them
Yeah, you did, okay.
regarding the stormwater
Yep.
and the,
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure you saw it.
okay, I did, yeah, we'll show that as far as on the plan. Everything actually pitches to the rear of the lot
Right.
as it stands, and we're gonna put in like a wing curb on the pavement, kind of like what Stewart's has there,
Kind of grab it.
Yeah, and then, so we're, gonna aim everything towards that retention area, so.
Perfect, great,
All right,
thank you.
excellent. Thank you.
Make sure you have this. Okay. Libby, you all set? So now we will go back
Thank you for that.
to site plan review 220013, Spring City Development Group LLC.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Libby Carino. I'm project counsel for Spring City Development. That's the applicant on this project. I'm joined today by Kelsey Carr from Labella. Was supposed to be joined tonight by Scott Townsend from SWPR as our architect, but unfortunately I got a phone call a few hours ago that he is unable to join due to illness. So I am really sorry about that. I know that there might be some architectural comments tonight, so we'll do our best to capture those and have them for a written response for the next meeting, but I do apologize. That was a late call. So, with that being said, I know that we've seen the board in July, again in August, and now here in September, going through sort of an iterative process where comments have been made and modified in the plans and then submitted back. So, I'm pleased to report that you will not hear much from me tonight because there isn't much for me to add. The lion's share of the comments related to technical questions from the board that are best answered by the engineering team. So Kelsey Carr is here tonight to answer some of those technical questions, and she's in the audience. We'll bring her up in a minute just to explain the new site plan. So, start advancing. It was working. All right.
Okay, Jeff, you're up.
Jeff, can you advance? Not sure what I did there.
This is your technology advance.
Oh, something's. Yeah, there's something in the way.
I gave you time to get this working.
I know. What? My assistant is not. It's okay. Oh, it's giving him a hard time. Okay, well, I can just summarize since I did the presentation. I know what's in there. So, oh, is that okay? So just, thank you, everybody.
Unless it works for you?
Yes, it works for me. Thanks, Beth. Gotta tip that guy. All right, so this is an overview, again, just to orient the public and the board of the multiple sites that are involved in this comprehensive site plan review. Two of the buildings that were on this original aerial have been demolished. That would have been the Hot Shots building and I believe the OTB. So both of those buildings are gone. So this is what you're looking at from an aerial view. Here's the rendering that we brought of the new building for the board to see at the last planning board meeting. So I just brought a few of the overview slides in case discussion became about visuals so that the audience could follow along with the board. This is the former Sandy's building, so just another picture. I like this one because it's a gal walking a dog. I don't know, I just like this one. It just feels like, you know. And then of course this is the underpassage in order to get from Elm Street into the building. I know there were questions and comments and discussions between the fire department and Labella on this, so I brought that slide as well. And then the summary of the comments that we had essentially, and I'll allow Kelsey to take you through her revised site plan, but one was a chip generation for new buildings on South Street, so that was submitted. A photometric analysis of the common areas in the buildings, which was submitted. There was an arrow or a note at the crossing for a stop sign in Elm, that's been corrected. Sidewalk details, so they don't appear to tilt, so everything's on grade. There was a look at some of the dimensions of the bollards. Playground for a fall protection area, some thoughts about tree species that were going to sit in those wells. I understand that Kelsey has had conversations with or about the overall city streetscape design that's kind of happening at the very same time as this, so those conversations happen in the background. And then that gallery pass-through space, increasing some plantings and walk-through space, and perhaps even adding planter boxes on the first floor of the townhome. So those were some of the general comments that we heard. So I'll turn it over to Kelsey at this point. This is the revised site plan, just reminding about some of the parking elements for this project. And the next slide, Kelsey, just so that you know, is your revised utility plan.
Thank you so much. So as Libby said, we did submit a trip generation analysis, a letter report, and so that analysis showed that the project will generate less than 100 vehicle trips at any one intersection approach. So based on the thresholds that are established by New York State DOT and the international traffic engineers, that basically means that an off-site intersection analysis is not required because those intersections can accommodate the traffic that we will generate. We also did provide the full photometric plan that includes the pedestrian corridor as well as the streetscape and the residential amenity space behind 31 South Street. So that shows that we do have adequate light being provided in all of those spaces. As Libby said, the driveway aprons were updated so that we have a level walking path at the back edge of the sidewalk. So it's only in the space, basically the maintenance strip between the sidewalk and the curb, that will have that driveway tilt.
Okay. So that's basically in the area where some of the other, like on other parts of South Street, there's brick.
Yes,
So
Yep.
that would be the area that's got the apron on it, and then the rest of it's flat.
correct, yep.
Okay.
And then there were also some questions about if adequate walking paths dimensions were being provided with the different streetscape amenities. So we have confirmed that we do have a 4-foot minimum walking path in all areas along the entire streetscape for the project. The site plan also does clearly reflect the fall protection zone for the playground equipment that was selected for the project. And then in response to the comment about adding additional green space within that pedestrian corridor, we do have raised planters now being provided along the 41 South Street building. And then there's also additional planters that will be provided at the Elm Street entrance to the 31 South Street building at that enclosed canopy. We also had some comments that we received from the engineering department. So we were informed that the city is progressing a separate project to provide a separate storm sewer system as well as some streetscape improvements in our portion of Elm Street. So we had a meeting with Creighton Manning, who's performing that design, and we're coordinating with them directly to make modifications so that their project and our project align. So basically, there's going to be some modifications made to the storm sewer so that it will be a completely separate system, which, as you know, will provide significant environmental benefits for the city. The other comment from the city engineer, they did request that we provide a combined fire and domestic water service for each of the 4 buildings. So we did modify the design for that. And then for the fire department, there were concerns about the clearance height for the driveway access that goes beneath the building. So we did a full code review as well as a review of all of the fire apparatus that the city owns. And so we did increase the clearance height to be 13 foot 6 inches. And so that'll be more than sufficient for their largest ladder truck, which is less than 11 feet high. I think that actually addresses all of the comments that we had.
Okay. Very good, thank you. We did leave the public hearing open. We've heard from some public in the past on this. Is there any members of the public tonight that would like to speak on this project? Yes, sir.
Again, I'm Tom Wells from the Glens Farmers Market.
Okay.
And in this review here, I haven't still, because of what's going on with the new building that we're gonna have, I don't see any places for us really to park on the street to unload our product and get it into the new farmers market building. The other thing that I wanted to bring up at this possible time is, I know this is a little off topic, but it'd be similar, is the piece of property that we're supposed to have the farmers market in. Is there any way it would be a great solution to solve the parking problem if you turn that into a parking lot and either Bonaccio or the Spring City Group were to buy the Rite Aid that's on the corner of South Street and refurbish that into the farmers market program, which would be an awesome program, be a great use of the building that's there. The other question I have, or comment I wanted to make, is I also heard through the rumor mill that the pavilion has been sold. Is that, do you know anything about that? Or
No
does
idea on
anybody?
that.
I tried to get a hold of you, but you didn't answer me, so. But that's where I'm at. Okay?
Good.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
man. So as far as the, that separate project, from what I understand, Jeff, there's some information forthcoming on that shortly on the event space. That was my understanding. So there will be some additional information coming on that. Obviously, at this point, we're dealing with the application we have in front of us. You said that you did speak with Chief Schrimmel about the fire department. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll just wait to get information back. Anybody else from the public wish to speak on this? Yes, sir.
Good evening. I'm Esmond Lyons. I live at 13 Garfield Street here in the city. I've been coming to the farmers market for 27 years. I noticed that A lot of people in the city don't go to the farmer's market, and a lot of people do. But there's a couple of things I wanted to bring up, and that is I like to take the overview. And if we take the overview, we're looking at a situation in which we're potentially diminishing a supply of food into the city. And I think history is teaching everybody a lesson today that the closer you are to your source for what you need, the better off you are. And we've got like over 100 hardworking people in these rural areas around the city. And I think that they need to be honored and protected. I watched that farmer's market grow from like 4 or 5 stalls to what it is today. There had to be at least 2,000 people there on Saturday morning. And one Saturday morning, 2,000 people come. Everything should be, my primary concern, I'm not against any of this development. But this development has to accommodate what's already here. We already have a successful farmer's market. It's a rare thing. People from out of this area come here, they're amazed at what we have. And let's not diminish it. It's success. You don't diminish success. We let it grow.
Correct.
So whatever choices we make, however direction we go, we have to go in the direction that's best for everyone. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ed. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Janet Spielberger, and a block from this project is our business. My husband, Dr. Michael Spielberger, and I have a dental practice just a block from there. And although I have no objections to what you'd like to do there, from a standpoint of my business, I do from the potential loss of the farmer's market, much like Mr. Lyons. You're messing with my veggies and my fresh eggs. I just don't know a better way to let you know. And I see so many people there every week, and they go to the same vendors, buying the same thing. And I think his point to supply chain, and given what happened through the pandemic, that it's a pretty important thing that we keep those people employed, buying their product and having a place for them. And shoving this down the road a bit, hoping that it works out okay, doesn't seem like a solution to me. There's been a solution in place to have this other pavilion, and it keeps being moved to a back burner. So I'd like something firm in place before you say, sure, go ahead with this, because that's going to be there a very long time and disrupt a pattern that's been in our community for a very long time. So consider my veggies and my eggs, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Jeff's ready to jump forward. I can see it coming.
Yeah.
Jeff Flagg.
Hi, I'm Jeff Flagg, I'm Economic Development Director for the city. Just to clarify, with all due respect to the folks who just talked, we are not getting rid of the farmer's market. We are moving the farmer's market to a slightly larger facility than the one it's currently in. I know there have been some concerns. Obviously, the city has been juggling lots and lots of different considerations, notwithstanding the cost, notwithstanding the design, notwithstanding COVID, notwithstanding lots of other issues that we've had to deal with. The mayor, who's actually here tonight, and I and the working group for the DRI have been working pretty diligently and trying to come up with a plan that works for everyone. And that would be, certainly one of the primary considerations is the farmer's market. I know that many of the folks involved in the farmer's market feel like they've been sort of left in the periphery. Part of the reason for that is because we have to make sure that this building, which is going to be probably on the order of $4.5 to $5 million, is workable in a number of different perspectives. So this is just one of the juggling things we're going to do. The city is actually planning to bring the design before the planning board next month. So we'll be submitting plans. Hopefully some of the concerns that have been expressed here and elsewhere, quite frankly, will be that addressed. Just to clarify.
Okay, thanks. Anybody else? No? Okay. Mr. Brown, our architectural consultant.
My only comment is I've received copies of the city fire department's concerns and the city engineer, and both of those were very valid concerns apparently, and I think it's important to resolve those before proceeding to any
Yeah,
action.
it sounds like from talking with Justin, that they've got that. That was one thing I wanted to check with her when they were talking about that, so.
Yeah,
Good,
that's it.
good, thank you. Mr. Gardy? I don't know.
I think that the project is pretty much in view of the people that do it. The problem is the city has decided to move the farmers market. And if we don't have any choice, because if they meet the requirements of zoning, we don't have any choice of what to approve it, because we don't have authority to change the zoning.
That's it?
When we talked about the plantings and the trees and whatnot, you were gonna look into that, but with the streetscape, you were saying that you have to plant, you're working collaboration with Creighton Manning. What's that gonna look like? Will it be similar to what we have here? Do you anticipate it to change?
So the city's design for the streetscape was actually very minimal along this portion of Elm Street in anticipation of this larger redevelopment occurring. So the streetscape ultimately is going to match the design that we are proposing. And then the storm sewer will be modified to align with that.
Okay. And is this different? I was looking at it, but species-wise, your landscape, these are all good species for where we are, and they're all.
Yes, the landscape architects have confirmed that those are appropriate for the size of the tree wells and if there's any overhead wires or things to contend with.
Okay. Okay, great. I think that's it right now.
Interestingly enough, I had to look up the ginkgo biloba plant. And I looked it up, and it's very specific between male and female plants. And it talked about what the advantages and disadvantages, and I went back and looked, and they've specified the male species of the ginkgo biloba plant. And it has to do with the berries and the nuts that drop from the female. It makes, I guess it's very detrimental to things like that. So it was one of the things that I went through and looked at. I was like, that's kind of neat, at least look that up. But it did say that those are specifically used for street plantings, and I went to look back at a couple of the other ones, so they're very, very specific. Thank you. Ms. Culligan.
I have no questions or comments. I mean, I'm going to ask a question once we get through it, but not related to this application.
Okay.
Just new at it right now.
Yep.
So with this topic, I just don't have a lot of information to really throw out there. Just reaching out to the topic there with the species of trees. We do have, I think, you guys, I assume, took into consideration salts and chlorides and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Because that's what speeds everything up, and really shortens the lifetime of the shrubs or trees, either or. So I just was curious if you guys had an opportunity to put that in the next two.
Yeah, we absolutely took that into account.
Good, thank you.
There was a couple of questions that Ms. Andrews had, but I think most of them have been addressed. Where do we stand with the parking living? We're still, I know we've been over that several times, and we've still got the agreement with the city on the spots in in the parking garage at 333 Glen.
So, for clarity, for purposes of our project and the record for us, we're requesting, the waiver for 75 spaces to be located more than 300 feet away, not a waiver on the number of spaces,
Right.
just the distance. I think we brought the statistics, I think 2 meetings ago, that it was a 2-minute, 30-second walk, so it's commensurate with urban living. However, and I know that this is a topic that's outside of what we've asked for in the application, but to the extent that the city identifies a parking location that is different, then we would obviously accept parking that was closer, you know. But right now, as it stands, as we move this project forward, we're asking the planning board to consider this as an acceptable solution. My understanding is that the city has undertaken tremendous efforts in the last few months to look at its parking issues and will continue to do so. And if a solution arises that is better than this one, I am certain that we would be willing to come back and discuss that. But we do think there's adequate parking as it stands today. But I also understand that conversation's ongoing.
Yeah. Okay. A couple other questions that had come up. The fencing on the site is only around the green area in the back, right? It's not around the whole entirety of the parking area.
Correct.
So that space that's between your parking area and the parking area to the north and the parking area that's to the east, that's all wide open space. It's not like this is a blocked off parking space.
Correct. The existing parking lot to the west has a timber curb on it, and then there is a little bit of an elevation drop down to our parking lot. And then similarly, there's going to just be a green space along the northern edge.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I know that was a question that had come up. A couple of people mentioned that. And the drive under, you said that had been raised. You've got able to get that up to 13.6.
Yes, correct.
So 14 feet is the maximum over the road travel anyway in New York State.
Yep.
The only other thing that I know had come up was the raised walkway across Elm Street, and I saw that there was a detail in here that kind of addressed that.
Yeah, we modified it to match the DOT
Okay.
standard detail for the raised crosswalk.
So the raised walkway, and approximately what is the width of that entire walking surface? It was really kind of hard for me to tell.
I think it's about 20 feet.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It looks, so it's not like, and I think the misconception is that it's a standard walkway, or it's a standard sidewalk that's 5 feet wide. No, this is
No,
the
it's wide.
length of a car.
Yeah.
So it's not like a speed bump. It's a raised area that goes up and then it's flat and then it drops back down, and it's just raised up to parking or to sidewalk height.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. That was what I thought. So. Obviously, I think you've answered a lot of our questions. I'm not seeing any other questions. Rach, do you have anything else?
I don't.
You're aware that we have sent out the seeker portions. We've gotten a few of them back. I did get back from Warren County that they had no issues, and their county recommendation is approval. So we've got theirs. Did you get those?
I have them.
You did, okay. So I think we've got all those. Is there anything else that you need from us?
I do not believe so. I think that by the time that we gather again in October, the 30 days for any comment from all state agencies will have expired, so we'll know if there's any additional comments, and our request would be that we move the project forward then.
Very good.
All right, thank you so much.
I will, for this evening, I'll make a motion to continue the tabling to the October meeting.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
When will the development begin for them? And if the farmer's market building is coming to us next month, potentially, what would the construction?
That we'll have to talk with the people who are presenting the farmers market, obviously. The people in Spring City don't really have a lot of control over when that happens, but, I think that what we've heard from them in the past is that the initial portion is to concentrate on the rehab of the 3 buildings first, get that done, or get that well underway before they start the next portion on the vacant part of South.
Is Spring City doing
The farmer's market? No, it's a completely separate project, and it's completely outside the realm of their presentation, which is why, I mean, we can field the questions, but there's not really a whole lot that we can do.
So I guess to like ease some concerns, because I understand their concern about it.
Absolutely.
Will the new building, do you think, obviously we can't tell, you know.
We don't know what timeline is. I think we'll have a better idea once Jeff brings the stuff in for the farmer's market at our next meeting. I know there's been some preliminary discussions on it, and I know that there's been additional modifications to the plan, to the original plan, because the original plan just was not feasible or affordable. So I know that they've talked about it, and to be able to provide a space that's more than just, that is the farmer's market, but more than just the farmer's market as well. So it's something that multiple,
A multi-use venue,
Yeah.
not just being used for
Yeah.
4 hours.
right, yeah, for more than, yeah. And I think that when we see the plan, I think that'll come through, and we'll have a much better feel for how the whole thing goes together at that point.
Well, I think at the last meetings, it was also represented, the project development agreement between Spring City and the city has phase 1 going first, and the farmer's market area is not even going to be disturbed until they begin phase 2, which is approximately a year, maybe, we don't know.
Is that what if I could, is that what the timeline is? So I can keep abreast with the farmers? Are you gonna keep the pavilion where it is for the whole summer next year, or is that basically the plan?
I think I can, my project manager isn't here, Larry, I know he was at the last meeting, but I think I can pretty much say yes, 99% certain. I can certainly take your email and write to you, just confirm, just because it's.
Yeah, we just
I'm not the project
confirm it.
manager, but
The only reason why I'm asking is if you're gonna tear it down or block it in any way, I have to start looking for a place now, somewhere close to the city of Glens Falls,
Yeah,
so we can do
the
it.
first phase is largely facade and interior renovation only for the first 3 buildings. It's not impactful, the farmer's market area at all. And in fact, I know Attorney Judge Burgess referenced the development agreement, but there's even thought given there that if they don't align, what that would look like, meaning if Spring City had to buy the property, that they would actually lease the farmer's market back to the city until it's ready to be moved.
Yeah.
There is no goal.
It's all been in the negotiations from the
Yeah, that was from the beginning, so that even if title had to change hands for reasons of development, which sometimes they do for finance reasons, but there would still not be a displacement until it was ready to be moved.
Yeah. Good. Thanks.
There's a sketch on the second floor
Yes.
that shows the projected view of the farmer's market on the second floor upstairs.
Yes.
Yeah, there has been some preliminary stuff, and
I've seen it, but I think because they, you know, it's like, I'm assuming that they're thinking that it's just gonna get knocked down and that's it.
yeah, no, I think that there's a timeline that's involved with it, and you know, obviously none of us can predict the future. Nobody would have thought,
Right.
you know, 18 months ago that things would have stopped for 18 months. Maybe 30 months ago. But again, I think that, you know, it has been thought of, and I think the development team and I think the city have been working, you know, quite well hand in hand, at least giving it thought. So obviously it's the cart's a little bit ahead of the horse, but I think the horse is catching up pretty quick. So.
But to inject there again, the farmer's market people have been pretty much left in the dark with what the city has planned and what they're doing and everything else.
I think there'll be some light shed on that very, very quickly. Yep. All right. Anybody else have anything else this evening? No? Then I would make a motion that the planning board is hereby done for this evening. Adjourned is the word I was looking for.
Second that.
All in favor? I did give